When most of us experience anxiety, it's often because of this perceived fear of the unknown. But as I've explained in other videos, it's not actually that we fear the unknown, it's that we fear what we think we know about the unknown. And what I've come to realize is that those who are confident and don't experience anxiety, it's because they've eliminated this idea that there is anything unknown about themselves to themselves. And often I get this question, but I know myself, so what do you mean? But really, I'm here to tell you, you don't know yourself as well as you think you do. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. I'm Ann Blackwood, your Silicon Valley Sage Sister, here to bring consciousness to the forefront of your daily life to make life a little kinder and simpler. So, most people only know themselves as much as they've come to understand what they need to understand at any given moment, and don't explore themselves beyond that. And, you know, I get a lot of these questions like, well, how do I explore myself if the situation hasn't come up? Well, this is one of the things meditation is really great for, and being able to have conversations with a friend, a deep, true friend, not just like a friend, or a coach, counselor, therapist. When we allow ourselves to dig deep into who we are beyond what the immediate circumstance requires of us, is what allows us to build the confidence required to not have anxiety. It becomes this yes, no, or maybe, but I need more information, not this, I don't know what's going on. Because these people with confidence have confidence because they've taken the time to really get to know themselves. And this is why I created the Intuitive Lifestyle course. That is my one real course that I ever did live rounds of, that I now have available on Patreon for self-study. Because you have to know a handful of things about yourself to start building this confidence. And it comes down to priorities, boundaries, and belief systems. And this can be a big thing that we develop over a lifetime. But if you just start with a handful of things in each of those categories, you can start building that confidence, which then allows you to try new things without worry, or find yourself in situations where, rather than having anxieties build up, you can stay calm because you know yourself well enough to know that at any given moment you can say yes, no, or maybe, but I need more information. And this is what all the confident people are able to do that don't experience anxiety in any given situation, where other people do. Other people do. Just being willing to try new things, learn new things, more than you would otherwise. Being able to, as I say, I don't know. Instead of being like, yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. Being able to say, I don't know, tell me more. Or, I kind of know what you're talking about, but please elaborate. You know, being able to do this allows you to build the confidence required to not experience anxiety in everyday situations. And we experience anxiety in little ways and in big ways. And this is the cure for both. And that's not to say that you will never experience any sort of stress ever in your life, but when it comes to what we think of as anxiety, it really builds upon itself, starting from just this little seed of at one point not being able to trust yourself. And the only way that we can trust ourselves is by knowing what our priorities are, to know what our boundaries need to be, and being able to figure out what our belief system is. And I break this all down in my intuitive lifestyle course. When you have these things, boundaries, priorities, and your belief system really understood and straightened out, there becomes this sort of weight lifted, because at any given moment you know that you know yourself well enough to know that at any moment, anything that I go into, I will come out on the other side unscathed. Better for it rather than worse for it, even if I am a little scratched up and bruised through the process. I will, for the most part, otherwise come out unscathed. When you can do this, know yourself enough even. You know, we're all going to be growing and changing throughout life, but that doesn't mean you can't know who you are right now, even if you're going to change. And that's why I do these things that I've set up in my intuitive lifestyle course regularly. I don't just do it once and then it's done. I do this on a regular basis, you know, at a minimum once a year, checking in with myself to say, okay, what are my priorities now? Because our priorities are going to change as we change. Okay, so what then do my boundaries need to be now that this is the way it is? And then what is my belief system? Have I taken on any new beliefs recently that aren't mine? Do I want to keep them, and why? And what of my belief system that I've built up to this point that is mine, do I still believe this, and why? Or is this something that I've let go of? Just having this understanding of these bare minimums of self really allows you to move through the world, through life with confidence. So at the very least, at any moment, when you're posed with a situation that could otherwise cause you some sort of anxiety, you can turn that into a yes, no, or maybe, but I need more information from the situation, rather than a, I don't know, what is it, It doesn't need to be like that. It doesn't need to be like that. And when it comes to our deepest anxieties, that not only really deserves and requires that foundation of the priorities, boundaries, and belief system, but also often, pretty much always, requires finding the root cause of wherever that anxiety is coming from and healing it. And that's why, even though I love my intuitive lifestyle course, I have dedicated myself to working with people one-on-one and made my intuitive lifestyle course so accessible to people through my Patreon for as little as $23 a month, when, you know, I was doing this in live rounds, making $1,000 per person. Because what I came to realize is that once you have this foundation, then you have to heal the wounds that cause the ongoing anxiety. And as much as I would love to, my energy is better spent working with people one-on-one rather than trying to come up with a sort of one-size-fits-all video on how to do so. But I really encourage anybody who's experiencing anxiety on a regular basis to, at a minimum, start by figuring out what your priorities are, what your boundaries need to be, and what your belief system is. And even if you don't do it with my intuitive lifestyle course, you kind of get the idea of how that would work. Because having this foundation at a minimum allows yourself to know yourself enough to be able to trust that at any given moment you find yourself in, you can come out the other side better than you were before, rather than potentially worse. And at a minimum, at least not worse than you were before. All right, guys, thank you for joining me for another video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to check out the links in the description. My intuitive lifestyle course is available to 3 of the 4 tiers I have on Patreon. I have the Awakening, Ascending, Sanctuary, and Enlightening tier membership. The Awakening is kind of my light, my Balanced Black with light, where I have one-off videos, journal exercises, guided meditations, all sorts of things. And then the Ascending, Sanctuary, and Enlightening tier members all get access to the same content, as well as the Sanctuary gets access to the Sanctuary content, and then the Enlightening tier gets access to 1 session with me a month, plus Voxer direct messaging for in-between sessions. So I definitely recommend, if you don't feel like you trust yourself, to go check out my Patreon, because my intuitive lifestyle course, I have the round 2, which was done a year ago, and that's 7 modules, and then we have the round 3, which we just finished up, which got condensed into 5 modules. But I have both available depending on how practical or spiritual you want to be about it. And yeah, if you're really ready to heal, grow, and expand your consciousness, really trust yourself, if you're experiencing ongoing anxieties that it's time to figure out those roots and heal, I do still have one-on-one sessions available for anybody who's ready. So you can find those links in the description as well. I will be retiring my free clarity call once these last spots fill up, at which time I will start putting people on the waiting list as well. So get in there now, especially if you've been considering the free clarity call. And yeah, may the energies you serve you well. And let's keep making our way through. I'm doing it. And it's not always easy, but I'm doing it. So I know you can too.